What if I told you that 30 days from now, you could finally reach that next level of game, have an active dating life, and also quite possibly have just had the best month of your entire life? In this video, I'm gonna show you how. Back in the day, about 20 years ago, when I was coming up in game, there was this thing called the 30-day challenge. And this was absolute gospel. This is what was recommended as a beginner. That first thing you should do is go out and do a 30-day challenge. And people believed it, they bought into it. And you know what? There were some dramatic transformations from it. You'd see guys come in having never done a cold approach. 30 days later, they were unrecognizable, both in terms of their success with women and actually the way they carried themselves and the way they walked through the world as well. Over the years, the 30-day challenge has been largely forgotten, but I'm gonna tell you why this format is so effective and how to do it right. First reason why a 30-day challenge is so effective is because when it comes to learning game, obsession works. You see, if you're starting out in game and you go out in game today and then you wait 3 or 4 days and then go out in game again, you will have lost a lot of the progress you made today by the time you get to that next session. You will likely feel cold and out of practice again. The momentum you generated through that session today will have been lost by then. Your approach anxiety will have crept back. You won't feel as fresh or in the moment or in tune or sharp once you're 3 or 4 days down the line. However, if you go out again the next day, that decrease in skill between the days will be minimal and you'll pick up close to where you left off the previous day. Therefore, doing 3 or 4 or 5 days in a row is far better than doing 3 or 4 or 5 days spread out. And when you do 30 days in a row, that effect compounds all the more. Beyond that, when you do enough game in a concentrated manner, it starts to affect you subconsciously even when you're not in field. For example, when I do boot camps, where we're doing tons and tons of approaches over a period of time, the students on the boot camp report to me that they either sleep so deeply, it's like the best sleep of their life because they're exhausted, or what they report is that they're doing game in their head all night in between the sessions because their brain is recomputing everything, right? So it actually becomes a subconscious learning as well as an in-the-moment learning. The next reason why a 30-day challenge is so effective is probably the most obvious one, which is habit formation. If you do something continually over a period of time, you start to develop a habit, and 30 days is about that right window where if you do something continually for 30 days, it will become a habit and you'll kind of have it for the rest of your life. They say this with diet, with gym, same thing with game. If you can do it consistently, it will become something that is a part of your life forever. In fact, I know a lot of guys who started out to do a 30-day challenge and ended up doing a 90-day challenge or a 120-day challenge. I know a lot of guys who started with a 30-day challenge and still do game to this day. The next reason why a 30-day challenge is important is sort of an idea of critical mass. You're doing so many approaches that it's almost hard not to get results. See, if you're a beginner and you just go out for a couple days, you may not get any phone numbers, potentially, and then it could be frustrating. But if you go out for 30 days, it's almost impossible not to get results. It's almost impossible not to get really great interactions, get phone numbers. Most likely you're gonna get laid a few times, and very likely you're gonna have girls hitting you up continually by the end of it. Another factor in the effectiveness of the 30-day challenge is the fact that just doing 30 days is in and of itself an accomplishment, and it builds character. So if you get through this, you will be a stronger human being, not just better at game, and that strength will make you better at game also. Beyond that, committing to a 30-day challenge and not making excuses along the way, saying, I will do this no matter what, will get rid of a lot of the mental obstacles that are keeping you from getting good, keeping you from taking action. But a 30-day challenge is actually even more than just game practice. It's a life experience. It's an adventure. A 30-day challenge, if you do it, is something you will look back to when you're 80 years old, you're lying in a hospital bed and everything hurts, and you will be glad you did it. You will think, damn, I had some adventures in my life. Damn, I have some stories. It is truly an epic experience. And again, I can say from experience that the guys I've seen do this get results. I've seen many of my friends and colleagues do a 30-day challenge at the start of their game journey, and it's catapulted them to great success. I've also had a lot of students who have either done weeks consecutively with me, or they've done several boot camps kind of back to back and then work the days in between. Those guys have gotten the most incredible transformation. They are almost unrecognizable from the start to the finish. Beyond that, they had a lot of fun, and so will you. And fundamentally, that's what game should be, right? Game should be fun. It should be an adventure. It should be an experience. And a 30-day challenge definitely is that. So now that you're convinced to do a 30-day challenge really fast before you run out the door and do your first approach, let me tell you how to do it right. Set a clear goal and mark it on the calendar. This is my 30-day challenge. This is when it starts. This is when it ends. I am not quitting until it is over. Step 2, set a daily approach minimum. A lot of guys have done a 30-day challenge with 1 approach a day. That's okay, but really, honestly, you should be doing at least 3 approaches a day because you're gonna build better momentum, you're gonna get a better experience. So I recommend minimum approaches 3 a day. Obviously, if you get momentum and you wanna do 6 or 8 or 10 that day, awesome, and that will happen a lot. You'd be surprised, even if you're like, oh, so many approaches, I'm gonna be tired by the end of 3. You know what? Oftentimes you're gonna be energized by the end of 3 and you're gonna wanna do more. But set yourself a minimum for those days when you are dragging or those days you wanna make excuses. Step 3, pick a few good venues. You don't wanna be all excited to go out and then be like, oh, now where am I going? Decide in advance, these are some good day game places, these are some good night game places, that's where I'm gonna plan on going. And by the way, make sure it's multiple venues. You don't wanna do a 30-day challenge all in the same exact venue over and over and over again. You want some variety, both for the sake of your own sanity and also for the sake of not developing a reputation at that place where you're doing approach after approach after approach. Step 4, try to find a wingman if you can, but if you can't find a wingman, at least find an accountability buddy. Find someone who's gonna get on your ass and give you if you don't follow through with this challenge. Step 5, be reasonable with yourself. I know you've set up these very strict parameters and that's part of why the 30-day challenge is good, but sometimes things won't go according to a plan in a good way and you have to allow for that. So for example, if you've decided I'm gonna go out and do 3 approaches every day and one particular day your first approach is an 8-hour long instant date that you take the girl home, that's okay. You can count that as your 3 approaches for the day. That's completely fine. Or if you start getting a lot of dates, sometimes going on a date can count as your approaches for the day. However, you can't count going on dates as all of your approaches for the week. You still do have to keep going out. But keep in mind, while we are being very rigorous about the 30-day challenge, the overarching goal is to get good at game. That's what you need to keep in mind at all times, right? Going out and doing 3 approaches just to go through the motions and do the challenge isn't really helping you. Keep in mind the end goal, which is actually getting good at game. And finally, once again, let me reiterate, part of this whole thing is have fun. Make it an enjoyable experience, make it an adventure. This is gonna be one of the craziest months of your life. This is gonna be a month you look back on fondly for years to come. Remember to enjoy it, remember to savor the moments. And you know what? Even the moments that aren't as favorable towards your goal can be fun, can be funny, can be experiences. It's all part of the game, and there's a reason why they call it the game and not the work. It's because it's fundamentally a fun, chaotic, beautiful experience. Treat it as such. Go out there, do this, and have fun.